Hello and welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely as we prepare for the superstar White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt going to give another briefing from that James S. Brady briefing room in the West Wing. We've become very familiar with it, and she is the greatest of all time. There's no question about that, as we've seen a Brady room that has been more packed than it has in the past, with new media and also traditional voices out there. With cable to the live streaming, the American people have much more access than they ever did before, with this president who seemingly gives a press conference every single day, whether it be from the West Wing of the White House in that Oval Office to the press briefing room, the Brady room there, or even before going on to Marine One or Air Force One. This president committed to the American people with a reclamation of dedicating our country to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. In case you missed this morning, the 74th National Prayer Breakfast, an annual event attended by countless different leaders, put on by the President of the United States and also Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Their insignia behind that on the backdrop, met with chairmen like Senator Roger Marshall from the great Kansas state, and as well as President Bukele in the House from El Salvador, amongst other world leaders. And if you can remember, President Bukele, once having the most dangerous country per capita in the Western Hemisphere, and they dedicated to God, the Holy Family, the Trinity, and Mary and Joseph to have safety, to have peace among their nation, and many El Salvadoran people who came here as refugees or had dual citizenship in the United States, now returning to their home country to build businesses and to make El Salvador great again. And a beautiful relationship there. President Trump touching on that, amongst many other issues this morning, on a whole host of things, as he has really become the stand-up comedian in chief, bringing a lighthearted nature in his speeches to rather serious issues. And one of the more serious was, of course, Camp Mystic of last year. How can we forget in Texas, that terrible storm taking the lives of the youngest and most innocent amongst us, a camp that's steeped in Christian tradition for the summertime, for people and children to grow in their faith. And President Trump remembering them with cut number one, Mr. Producer.
Scriptures always tell us that blessed are the pure in heart. I don't know if that applies to me necessarily. I'm not so sure. I don't know, Paula, does that apply to me? I'm not sure. I try. But we're joined this morning by two incredible young American patriots and believers who show that, you know, that's so true. Last summer, Emma Foltz and London Smith were both camp counselors at Camp Mystic, the Christian girls' camp in Central Texas. One of the worst things I've ever seen. On that fateful night, 20 inches of rain fell in a matter of minutes. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And the river rose 20 feet in literally 30 minutes, leaving utter devastation and destruction. Emma bravely helped lead 14 precious little girls to safety. And London, seeing the water rise, gathered with other girls at the top of their building and prayed. They just prayed and prayed. And as they prayed, the water miraculously stopped rising. Just a few inches from their feet, it was going to overwhelm them. Anybody in the cabins were gone. Anybody in the cabins were gone. Who would have known? They thought the cabins were the safe place to be. It wasn't. Then the water began to retreat, and many hours later they were finally rescued. As you know, many young people died that night. When asked what she hopes others to take away from her story, London said, "This life is not promised. Our breath every minute is not guaranteed. Because of that, we shouldn't take life for granted, and we should just live it well." I mean, it was just an amazing statement. I saw her make the statement. Young girl making that statement. Incredible, actually. Very complex statement. Smart, but true. London, I know exactly what you mean, and I want to thank you both for being here and your remarkable, incredible courage. It's been really amazing. And if you could at least stand, I said, would you like to speak? And they said, well, we're a little shy. But you know what? You may be shy, but you're very brave. Would you please stand? I went to the camp a few days after the flood. It's with First Lady, and it was devastating. I met parents. It was just, this could be nothing worse than that. It was a horrible, horrible moment. Almost 250 years after our founding fathers took one of the greatest leaps of faith in human history, the story of Emma in London shows us that faith of the American people remains unbroken. Actually became stronger than ever. And it reminds us that prayers strengthen, prayers heal, prayer empowers, and prayer saves. Quite simply, prayer is America's superpower. It really is a superpower. And it always has been, and it always will be.
Prayer is America's superpower, as we are praying for Savannah Guthrie and her mom missing Nancy. If you have any information on that, 800-CALL-FBI. That's 800-CALL-FBI. As we continue to follow that story amongst this White House that has helped return countless victims of human trafficking, a border that was left wide open by the last administration. As you hear horror stories of situations where it's mostly involving young people, but this one has gripped the nation in an alleged kidnapping scenario. We still don't have a lot of information behind the disappearance of this lovely woman at 84 years young, but the fact that it actually makes up for around 0.02% of kidnappings of people of that age that are elderly, 80 plus. So a very sad situation happening there in State 48 in Tucson, Arizona, as we watch that. The President of the United States was on the phone with NBC's Savannah Guthrie to discuss all that and to give full federal assistance in the form of the FBI and federal agents with cut number 7, Mr. Producer, President Trump, on the phone and sharing with Truth Social that he was speaking with Ms. Savannah Guthrie about the situation and has pledged that he spoke with her and let her know that I am directing all federal law enforcement to be at the families and the local law enforcement to help immediately complete a disposal. We are deploying all resources to get her mother home safely. The prayers of our nation are with her and her family. God bless and protect Nancy. President Donald J. Trump signing off there on Truth Social. Also, President Trump in that speech today truly hearkening to a number of different things, whether it was the book of James to Ephesians, reminding us that we are a God-given nation. The Judeo-Christian values that built this country 250 years ago, invoked by Pastor Paula White, also Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, amongst the other dignitaries. And President Trump joked around saying that there's even Democrats in this crowd, but also took the chance to criticize and really make fun of the Democrat agenda, as the government will remain open for at least one more week here with the passage of funding over the course of the last several hours. So we'll watch that for you as well. As the SAVE Act was kind of put on the back burner, also the Democrats do not want to fund DHS. So it's a debate happening right now on Capitol Hill, and we'll have more to digest that with Jim Paff, the Conservative Caucus president, whether it's in this broadcast or the evening broadcast, recently talking to him right here on the network. And we'd be happy to share as well our great sponsors here at the network, including allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. I love this organization because They are focused on you, the American people. And we saw the storms recently that took place, severe weather disrupting travel, deliveries, and access to care. Many Americans being reminded that you should have these life-saving medications with you, ready to go. Preparation is key. Imagine already having a flu medication kit at home, a few months of blood pressure medication, and any other life-saving essentials in case you have another winter storm like we just saw over the last 2 weeks. With all these storm delays happening, these life-saving prescriptions can help save you and yours. RSBN 10 is the code. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Choose freedom. Choose the right pharmacy. Choose All Family Pharmacy because it's in the name. It's in All Family. What's antibiotics to ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and also essential medical kits like emergency medical kits. 300 plus essential medications there ready for you to go. Patients can order prescription medications online ahead of time, and a licensed doctor reviews that order. They're licensed right here in the United States, sends it right back to your door within a matter of days. No waiting room, no handouts, no insurance, no red tape, no bureaucracy, simply a pharmaceutical note, and you are ready to go. Again, they offer antibiotics, antivirals, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and these antivirals that can help save you and yours. And those emergency medical kits, easy to take on the road with you. These are all off-label generics that your pharmacy down the street either won't prescribe or simply doesn't have in stock. All Family Pharmacy getting ahead of that curve. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, code RSBN10 right there for you, and many savings there for all your essential medications. There's also angelpaste.com, Valentine's Day coming up. My favorite, the Vitamin B Miracle Cream. I use this every day to help keep my skin as glowing as possible, especially with this winter weather. It's cold. It feels like shards of glass, as one of my friends, a meteorologist in Atlanta, mentions on a regular basis. And sometimes it does, especially for the southern states being hit hard this time of year. So make sure that these great creams and products from angelpaste.com, great year-round, but also especially this time of year when your skin can dry out from all of those cold temperatures. Angelpaste.com, the Vitamin B Miracle Cream, the OG, my favorite, non-GMO, no chemicals. Also the orange option, a vitamin C boost that's all natural, because even those emergencies or some of those other packets, you read the ingredients on there, they have those red dyes, those artificial colorings. They're kind of nasty and not good for you, but right here, the non-GMO, no chemical angelpaste.com, giving those great options like the orange vitamin C option to help with the collagen and just keeping you healthy during cold and flu season. There's also a natural facial spray for the guys and gals. So for the dudes out there, but the gals out there, angelpaste.com, a great gift for your significant other with Valentine's Day coming up. They're Christian owned. They hire veterans. They're based in Spring, Texas. It's around the Gulf of America. Angelpaste.com, a great miracle that we enjoy partnering with here on the right side of history. As we await the superstar Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing there at the James S. Brady briefing room at the White House, we could toss back to some True Social posts from President Trump and rapid response earlier today with cut number 2. The Department of Justice recently charging 9 individuals in that church attack in Minnesota, you might recall from a few days ago during the worship service. President Trump pledging religious liberty and First Amendment rights at the National Prayer Breakfast. And this video cut from this morning with cut number 2.
The Department of Justice recently charged 9 individuals for storming a church in Minnesota during a worship service and trampling on Americans' First Amendment rights. I watched that tape, and, that was violent. I saw the people sitting there, Pam, and they were scared. Some were scared and some were holding up their hands like, I believe in God. But they were violent people. Screaming, your parents are Nazis. Your parents are Nazis. The people are sitting, and I thought the minister was great. He was so calm and good. They're screaming at him, terrible, right in the middle of a church service. It's got to be illegal. I mean, Pam is doing it. I'm not doing it, but Pam is doing it. And I'll tell you, People are happy with the job that's taking place because they're bad people. They're bad people. You have one Trump hater in particular that just, I watched his performance. It was terrible. They try and use freedom of the press and all this to get out of a criminal event. But that was a horrible thing to witness. And if we allowed that to go on, you wouldn't be able to have a church. No, everybody would be afraid to go to church. And that we are not going to allow, are we, huh?
And with that as well, an announcement for May 17th. That's a Sunday. And May 17th, you know, those April showers bring May flowers, a great month of May to celebrate the mothers in our lives, with Mother's Day being in that month, but also a reclamation, a rededication of our nation to Jesus Christ, his church, and where we stand in the Western world, as we're reminded by many of those who were in the audience today who almost martyred their lives, like in the South Sudan, where a victim was literally jailed for being a Christian, pregnant at the time, having to give birth to her child in that prison, and mocked and sentenced to death by a Sharia court for not denouncing Jesus Christ and her Christian faith. For all the difficulties we go through in this nation, we have to thank God for not only that First Amendment, but the Bill of Rights and 250 years of influence from founding fathers, 56 of them who signed that Declaration of Independence and ultimately came together in a constitutional convention to uphold religious liberty. A very liberal idea at the time, but guided clearly by the Holy Spirit, especially the father of our nation, George Washington, our first president, the famous general. But President Trump with cut number 3 announcing May 17th, a time when we'll invite all Americans to pray together, but to come to the National Mall for a rededication to the faith of our country.
To support this exciting renewal this morning, I'm pleased to announce that on May 17th, 2026, that we're inviting Americans from all across the country to come together on our National Mall to pray, to give thanks, and we are going to do something that everyone said, like, that's tough. We're going to rededicate America as one nation under God. You know, a lot of people... Yeah, thank you very much. It's good. That's what I mean by the Spirit. It's so incredible to see it. I see it so much. I've never seen anything like it.
Yes, one nation under God, and that was a big theme today, this morning, at the 74th National Prayer Breakfast with leaders from Pastor Paula White to Speaker Mike Johnson, amongst others, including special guest President Bukele of El Salvador. So a packed house there, both Republicans and Democrats, those in the media and in private life, and pastors who are shepherding their respective churches throughout the United States of America. It's a beautiful reminder about the freedoms we have here in this country, and that they come from on high, not from government, but from God and his almighty hand. And a beautiful prayer that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth prayed over the president to start the breakfast, but then also pastors coming together to once again shield and protect the President of the United States in prayer, to not only yield to the will of God, but also to always be reminded, especially in the difficult times, that he is literally in the palm of his almighty hand. And I think all of us can have that reminder from time to time, especially as we pursue what are difficult times. I have regular conversations about this in private, that it seems as if 10 or 15 years ago, even years and years ago, the devil had a wild card in his corner and was trying to be hidden, convincing people that he did not exist. And while that may happen today, it seems more often than not, even if we go out in our daily lives, that we see good and evil displayed in a much greater way than we perhaps have seen in the recent past. But we do know that God is with us, Emmanuel, and we celebrate that here on the right side of history. We're also very grateful for our sponsors here at the network, like mypillow.com/RSBN. And Mike Lindell, the great CEO of this company. You know, he's running for governor of Minnesota on the Republican side. But in the meantime, why not grab a mattress and topper sale? As President Trump put it, the master marketer, Mike Lindell, at that 100-day celebration in Warren Township, Michigan. And it's so true because look at that, $99.99 plus free shipping on your entire order. That is what's happening right now at mypillow.com/RSBN. Call today. Do not delay. 800-836-7566. The mattress and topper sale for as low as $99.99. Promo code RSBN. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network by shopping now at mypillow.com/RSBN. A dear friend of the network. Thank you, Mr. Mike Lindell. And good luck with that race. Keep us posted. I'm sure he'll be on the show to talk more details about Minnesota, something in the news a lot lately. Also, thank you to you, the great viewers here at the network. Support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network with those views and images from 2024. We are your election headquarters for midterms 2026. Also, your go-to live desk and rally network will be out there on the campaign trail with President Trump. RSBnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. You can also send a check or money order to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. It's the loveliest village on the plains, the home of the orange and blue Auburn University, but also that red, white, and blue American Patriot Way, which is celebrated here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you for supporting us on the right side of history as we bring it unbridled access to you in these midterm elections 2026, your go-to live desk and rally network to bring you uncut, unedited, full speeches, full press conferences, the whole 9 yards, so you can make up your mind about your 45th and 47th President of the United States, the 50th Vice President, the 119th Congress, and hey, don't forget about First Lady Melania Trump. I heard she had a great documentary out there that might be breaking records. I hope you get a chance to see it. And also our great Second Lady, Usha Vance, who is pregnant with the Vance's 4th child. So this is all about reclaiming liberty and America, and it's being done so because you did that back on November 5th of 2024. Thank you for your support here on the right side of history. As we break down today's events, the latest from the Trump White House, and moments from now, the press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, the superstar, holding a press briefing just moments away. As President Trump mentioned, we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, as enshrined in our founding documents, as was celebrated and defended at the March for Life at the end of January. And President Trump speaking on that very core value that should unite all Americans in a bipartisan manner with cut number 4. Mr. Producer.
On that momentous day in 1776. This is so much easier. You know, it takes real talent to do the other. The other is much more talent, but that's why we're president, I think. But we have very important words to say, and this is such an important group. And we have plenty of time to say it, because when it comes to religion, I have all the time. I'm one of the few that say we have all the time in the world. But on that momentous day in 1776, history changed forever when our founders proclaimed the immortal truths that echoed around the world and down all the way through time. They declared that all of us are made free and equal by the hand of our Creator. A lot of presidents refuse to say that. They refuse to say that. Some refuse. Some major politicians refuse to say the word God. They don't want to say it. I say it. That we are endowed with our sacred rights to life, liberty, and not by government, but by God Almighty Himself. And those words rang out from Philadelphia and launched a revolution, not just in America, but in the hearts of all humanity. The principles of the Declaration of Independence, which is one of three, sitting right beautifully in the Oval Office. I took it out of the vaults, and it's beautiful. It's beautifully protected, and it's a magnificent document. I stare at it all the time, and I read it as often as I can. A true, brilliant work of art. They've stirred the spirit of patriots in every nation, liberated millions from tyranny, and lifted billions from poverty.
And we have moments away, Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing at the James S. Brady briefing room, just highlighting some of the big moments in President Trump's keynote speech this morning from the 74th Annual and National Prayer Breakfast. You might have a prayer breakfast happening in your neck of the woods around this time, early March, mid-March. I've always enjoyed the Cobb County Center, the Energy Center, where they host just outside of Atlanta, the Atlanta Prayer Breakfast with Georgia leaders. It's a fantastic one, including my neck of the woods from when I grew up back in DuPage County, the Wheaton Prayer Breakfast just west of Chicago. It's always good to bring the community together, to be reminded in that way, in a non-denominational, really your ego is checked at the door. Let's just put it that way, regardless of what you do. And so many of us do, and we should focus on those titles and what God has placed us here to do. But it is wonderful to be reminded of where this nation began, where it is going, and we look towards our past to see ultimately how we can steer the ship back in the right direction, because many civilizations face that question every 250 years or so. Some don't have the opportunity. Some are able to really hit it well and then move on to that next 250 years. But in the sphere of life, and as it goes for nations, many crumble and falter at this mark. And we are watching in real time the reclaiming of that and the revivals happening, not only on college campuses, but around the workplace. And those focused more on getting back with the Word of God and how He's influenced all of this, and how those stories from yesteryear and those ancient stories of Israel and kings known as Solomon and David actually were not too terribly different from us, even though they may have been here, some of them thousands of years ago. So we reflect on that all this morning, and it's a daily reflection for those in this administration. In fact, did you know that Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, her team, every time before they go out into that James S. Brady briefing room, they pause for communal prayer. And it's something that has been called upon since the dawn of the foundation of this republic, much to the chagrin of the far left who would like to see it go out the window, because it is the one thing that truly stands in the way of communism and Marxism and the far left. And we've seen that ever since its test run in the crossroads of Indiana, in a small town where they thought that socialism would work. It failed quickly, and as it grew and changed over time on different continents and the scare of the Cold War, we saw that the egregious nature of the state and its ultimate power is truly the antithesis of what we here in America have founded this experiment on, dating back 250 years. So always a good reflection for this time of year, and going to that 4th of July birthday celebration. What will we do to be better Americans, better community members, and ultimately better sons, daughters, parents, grandparents, and whatever your lot is in life? How can I better serve my community? Just like our dear friends over at angelpaste.com, the miracle cream that I use every day, vitamin B infused, non-GMO, no chemicals. Their orange option, also fantastic this time of year, with a vitamin C boost that can help with collagen, that can help with your overall feel, because we're in cold and flu season. So I hope you also have that Tamiflu on hand. But besides that, Angel Paste can give you that ultimate boost. And if you look at their website, they have several options to paint the town red, including a natural facial spray that I really enjoy myself. So with Valentine's Day coming up, this is unisex, So great gifts for guys, great gifts for gals out there. For your significant other, don't worry, it's not too late. You have roughly 9 days. Go to angelpaste.com, get that shipment and that order of some goodie bags for you and your loved ones. They're Christian-owned. They hire veterans. They're based in Spring, Texas, off the Gulf of America. Experience the miracle that is angelpaste.com. We're also grateful for allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, especially with all the storms taking place over the course of the severe weather disrupting the last 2 weeks of commerce right here in the country, with travel advisories and access to your pharmacies that have been affected, even the shipping that takes place with UPS ground and flight out of Memphis, Tennessee, especially. Tennessee and Memphis got hit so hard. We are reminded of preparation and how really important that is for the American people. Imagine having flu medication kits at home and a few months of blood pressure medication or any of these other life-saving essentials like antibiotics, antivirals, NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, amongst many others, in case there's a storm delay. All Family Pharmacy helps make that possible for you and yours. With code RSBN10, it's 10% off right now, all the life-saving medications. Choose freedom, choose the right pharmacy. Scan that QR code now for code RSBN10. 10% off your entire order at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Patients can order prescriptions, medications online ahead of time. No insurance, no hassle, no red tape. Simply a licensed doctor on the other end. And that other end is right here in the United States of America to review the requests, write the prescription and the medications, and send that right to your door. No waiting rooms. Again, no insurance roadblocks, just life-saving medications, no last-minute urgent cares that could be out the door this time of year. Again, antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, mebendazole, much, much more. Emergency medical kits, in fact, 300-plus medicines ready to go for you, whether it's at home or on the road. You have that right to choose off-label generics that some pharmacies do not want to prescribe. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. That is the go-to code RSBN10 for 10% off now. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. And as we await Karoline Leavitt, the superstar press secretary, just moments away, we'll take a quick commercial break at the top of the hour for more sponsors. You're watching the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Just moments away, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing from the West Wing live at the James S. Brady Briefing Room. My colleagues are in there on hand, ready to go. We'll take you there live when that does happen. Also in today's news, President Trump keynoting the 74th annual National Prayer Breakfast. His office, also that of the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, there on hand for that. So that was a very exciting time to see this morning, with many leaders from across the world joining, including President Bukele of El Salvador, someone who's become a dear personal friend of President Trump. And in addition to that, many other inspiring stories of those who were ready to be martyrs for the church, literally not renouncing their faith in Jesus Christ as a result of Sharia countries and many countries around the world that live under that mantle who are anti-Christian. We embrace religious liberty here in America with an administration committed to those rights and those rights of those to not worship if they so choose. That was reaffirmed this morning by the President of the United States and pastors from all over the world, including Pastor Paula White, opening up the National Prayer Breakfast. And if we have a moment, Mr. Producer, if we could play that clip number 5.
It is my great honor to introduce, and I think I can say this not as senior advisor, but as his friend, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the greatest champion of faith that we have ever had in the executive branch, the 45th and 47th president. Stand to your feet and give him the biggest welcome of the United States, a man I am honored to call friend, President Donald J. Trump.
And watching across the board there, you saw on the dais pastors and leaders in the faith movement. Also there, President Bukele, Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, who recently gave his final State of the State address. So many of the governors here in the Southeast term limited, and we're excited to watch those races, especially in the midterms 2026. Many of them in the last few weeks giving their final State of the State addresses. And as the Southeastern Conference, as they say, it just means more. So many of these states growing in their GDP and in the leadership post-COVID because they've invited businesses and deregulated these great states down here. And guess what? The weather is normally better. It's been a little bit of a struggle recently with the cold ice storms and the snow that has fallen on areas that simply don't necessarily have the removal infrastructure or don't have these storms as extreme as they were over the course of the last 14 days. But President Trump hitting the ground running with an ad in the midterms, placating himself, making it look kind of spooky, but all of the positive gains that have been made over the course of the last year plus in this new administration. And cut number 6, Mr. Producer, President Trump is hitting the ground running in these midterms as if he's on the ballot.
Beat Donald Trump, two-time president, the proven track record committed to making America great again. Donald Trump wants to unleash American energy, promoting U.S. energy independence. Donald Trump wants to put an end to radical Democrats' price hikes. Donald Trump wants to arrest pedophiles, rapists, and murderers, the literal worst of the worst illegal aliens. Donald Trump wants to deport illegal aliens. Donald Trump wants to lower drug prices and enforce the laws on the books equally, providing much-needed transparency and accountability to the D.C. swamp. President Trump puts America first and is ushering in a golden age for all Americans. How dare he?
This week is a big week for the White House, for the entire country, as the Waste Management Open is happening in Scottsdale, Arizona, something I've attended on numerous occasions. It's an absolute hoot. So we hope if you're out there, be safe, have fun, be respectful. There's an infamous 16th hole that is the stadium hole. And a lot of people have a good time out there leading up to the Super Bowl on Sunday. And speaking of the Super Bowl, President Trump really hitting on these key historic moments, as we're going to have a great game between Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks, Drake May and the New England Patriots there, right outside of San Francisco, California for Super Bowl 60. But President Trump has already sat down, and some of those scenes from a historic NBC interview with him, exclusive interview that is outlining the future of this great nation right there from the Oval Office and some parts of the West Wing. President Trump, in a commanding, nearly hour-long Oval Office exclusive, sat down with NBC anchor Tom Lamas for the assessment on his administration's last year plus, and a remarkable record of achievement and success delivering on his America First agenda. And the White House highlighting that, with more than 1 year into his second term, President Trump showcasing the game-changing progress on the nation's most critical issues while reaffirming his unbreakable resolve to renewing American strength and making the nation greater than ever before. Now, here are some key moments. One of his motivations for public service. What would that be? The president responded, "I only do this for one reason, make America great again." And that's what we're doing. We are making America great again, greater than ever before. Now, on the Trump administration's highly successful immigration enforcement, we are totally focused on criminals, really bad murderers. And we have approximately 11,888 of them that Biden and his group let into the country. We've captured a lot of them, and we are after those people. We are after the drug dealers. We are getting them out. On the unprecedented success of the first year back in office, President Trump stating, I've done a great job as president. They say I've had the best first year of any president in history. And I think I have. If you look, I settled 8 wars, the biggest tax cuts ever, and I think I had the greatest first year that we've had. On voter ID, why don't the Democrats want voter ID? The president asked. You know what voter ID is? Democrat voters want it, but Democrat politicians don't. Why don't they want it? It's because they want to cheat on elections. If they don't want voter ID, that means they want to cheat. We can't allow cheating in elections. On the massive fraud scandals on plaguing Minnesota and other Democrat-run states, Minnesota and these other states, we have massive fraud investigations going into just that topic. Now, do you know, if we captured 50% of the fraud in this country right now, we would have better than a balanced budget? Just in Minnesota alone, $19 billion in fraud that we know about, according to the president. And think about that. I mean, I have so many friends who are, and family members too, they take advantage of childcare, but it's expensive. And then you have to figure out as well in this economy, even though things are getting better, that most households are dual income, one way or the other. People working multiple jobs, or each spouse having one full-time job and then some. Where's the time to watch the children? And this administration focused on really having the family policies made first, especially with the Trump accounts. But this all goes hand in hand. And for a country that really does not know how to even be a sovereign civil country in Somalia, they sure know through illegal immigration how to obtain massive amounts of wealth on the backs of hardworking, legal immigrants and American citizens. Now, on the honor of serving as president, Mr. Trump said that all I know is this. It's such an honor. I'm walking down and everyone's screaming, "Goat, goat." And you know how he portrays that during an interview. I said, what are they talking about? I hope they're right. Not for me, but for the country. Because if I do a great job, that means the country is doing well. Now, on the recent shootings in Minneapolis, I'm not happy with two incidents, the president said. ICE wasn't happy either. But I'm going to always be with our great people of law enforcement, ICE, police. We have to back them. If we don't back them, we don't have a country. On his confidence in Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, she was in charge of the border. The border is now closed. We have the best crime numbers that we've had in 125 recorded years. I think she's doing a very good job. She's not getting credit for the job that she has done. On artificial intelligence, the president is stating that AI is a big deal. AI is going to be maybe the biggest thing, bigger than the internet, bigger than anything else. And we are leading China by a lot. We are leading everybody by a lot. President Trump also making comments on his health when asked. I feel great and I'm physically and mentally where I need to be, even better than 50 years ago. So some comments to preview the Super Bowl as we thank allfamilypharmacy.com. We'll actually head over to Karoline Leavitt at the White House.
Thank you all so much for showing up and for joining. I apologize for the delay. The president and I were watching the press conference about the search for Savannah Guthrie's mother, which is just a heartbreaking situation. The president, as you all know, spoke directly with Savannah yesterday and told her that the federal government is here to help. Any requests that are made by state and local officials in the search of Miss Guthrie will absolutely be accommodated. I spoke with the FBI directly about that today as well. And our hearts and our prayers are with Savannah and her entire family as they search for her dear mother. I also have a quick scheduling announcement for all of you. Tonight at 7 p.m. during prime time, President Trump, Dr. Oz, and National Design Studio Director Joe Gebbia will officially unveil Trump RX, a state-of-the-art website for American consumers to purchase low-cost prescription drugs. This historic announcement will save millions of Americans their hard-earned money, so make sure to tune in tonight, and we will see all of you in the news media there. President Trump promised to restore law and order to the United States of America, and newly released data proves he is delivering overwhelmingly on this promise. A study from the Council on Criminal Justice shows that the murder rate across America's largest cities plummeted in 2025 to its lowest level since at least 1900. Again, let me repeat, to put this in perspective, this marks the largest single-year drop in murders in recorded history. This dramatic decline is what happens when a president secures the border, fully mobilizes federal law enforcement to arrest violent criminals, and aggressively deports the worst of the worst illegal aliens from our country. The numbers don't lie. Under President Trump in 2025, the FBI increased violent crime arrests by 100% compared to the prior year. The FBI also conducted more than 67,000 arrests from Inauguration Day 2025 to January 20th, 2026, which is 197% more arrests than the same period previously. The FBI also disrupted 1,800 gangs and criminal enterprises, a 210% increase from the year prior. The FBI has arrested 1,700 child predators and more than 300 human traffickers across the country. Since President Trump took office, 6 of the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives have been captured. Right here in our nation's capital, where you all live, so you know it well, whether you choose to report it or not, the president's efforts to make D.C. safe and beautiful have worked. As of last week, D.C. homicides were down 62%, motor vehicle theft down 53%, and 2025 had the fewest violent gun crimes of any year of available data in our nation's capital. For more proof that these tough on crime efforts are working, look at the president's Make Memphis Safe Again campaign. As of last week, there have been nearly 5,600 arrests made, and aggravated assaults are down 53%. Sexual assaults are down 53%, and robberies are down 70%. Again, that's just in the city of Memphis. 5,600 arrests have taken place because of this president and his Homeland Security Task Force that has surged into Memphis at the request of both the governor and the mayor in that city. A Democrat mayor, I will add. These are the results that can happen when Democrats and Republicans, when the federal government and state and local officials work together. And that's what Trump wants to see to improve public safety across our country. When you have a leader like President Trump who empowers good cops to be cops and to arrest bad criminals, American communities will become safer. Many of the media outlets in this room have expressed shock and confusion at these remarkable statistics. The New York Times declared that, quote, "No one knows for sure what's behind the staggering drop in the murder rate. The reason is very clear. It is President Trump's leadership and his unwavering commitment to law and order. The drop in crime is more proof that all that is required to improve public safety on our streets is a leader with the will to do what is necessary to protect law-abiding American citizens. The terror and chaos that was unleashed under Democrat rule is a choice. It's a choice to put violent criminals ahead of innocent Americans, a choice to force us all to live in fear because of soft on crime, liberal politicians, prosecutors, and judges who lack the basic willingness to do their jobs and put dangerous people behind bars. On November 5th, 2024, the American people made a resounding choice that they've had enough of that, and that's precisely why they reelected President Trump. So even as Democrats and the liberal media are engaged in hysteria about this administration arresting and deporting violent, criminal, illegal aliens, the undeniable truth is that deporting these individuals is one of the primary reasons why America's streets are safer today than they were 1 year ago when President Trump assumed office. Former President Biden and the Democrats left our borders wide open, and President Trump and the brave men and women of ICE are removing these dangerous criminals. So here are just a few recent examples. Number one, a Venezuelan national and active Tren de Aragua gang member with a rap sheet including homicide, assault, child cruelty, domestic violence, and property damage. This is an individual I can assure you not a single one of you in this room would want in your neighborhood, whether you admit it or not. He entered the U.S. in 2022, and he was released into our country by the Biden administration. He is no longer here, thanks to President Trump. An El Salvadorian national and known MS-13 associate, previously convicted of homicide, conspiracy to commit homicide, and kidnapping, arrested for arson, battery, armed carjacking, and assault. He entered illegally in 2016, was released by the Obama administration, and ICE just arrested him on January 8th, 2026. This example shows you how many criminal illegal aliens have been roaming American streets freely because of a lack of attention to this matter from the previous administration, and President Trump is cleaning up their mess. A Cuban national and blood gangs member convicted of multiple homicides and robbery. ICE arrested him on October 27th and removed him on January 6th, 2026. Arresting and deporting these types of illegal criminals is precisely what the American people voted for. And despite desperate recent attempts by Democrats and those in the media to undermine the president's deportation agenda, these efforts are failing. Brand new Harvard-Harris polling shows overwhelming support for President Trump's efforts to protect law-abiding citizens from criminal illegal aliens. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans say criminal illegal aliens should be deported. A solid majority also support deporting all illegal aliens, regardless of additional crimes. And more than 2 in 3 Americans back the Trump administration's common sense requirement that state and local officials cooperate with federal authorities and work to hand over criminal illegal aliens in local jails for swift deportation. Finally, to prevent another invasion of millions of illegal aliens from happening again, President Trump and Secretary Noem delivered the most secure border in American history. 0 illegal aliens were released into our homeland over the past 9 months. This is a truly remarkable achievement. Again, 0 illegal aliens released into the country in 9 months. This is staggering, and it deserves more attention from all of you. Overall, Customs and Border Protection recorded the lowest total encounters in agency history. Daily encounters have fallen by 95%, averaging just 250 apprehensions at the southern border a day. This is compared to over 5,100 daily apprehensions during the Biden years. It's a night and day difference because we finally have a president who enforces the law and lets our law enforcement do their noble jobs of protecting our homeland. When President Trump campaigned on making America safe again, this is exactly what he meant, and the numbers and the results speak for themselves. With that, I will open it up to questions today. We're going to start with Daniel Baldwin from One America News, who is here religiously covering the White House beat every day. So it's good to see you in a chair instead of standing up today. Daniel, thanks for being here, and why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Karoline. It's an honor and a privilege to represent One America News in the new media seat. First question on that DHS funding bill. Funding runs out in the better part of 8 days or so. Democrats, at least verbally, are very dug in. What does the White House believe their end goal is when it comes to this funding fight, when it comes to immigration policy at large? What is their end goal when they're dug in a position like this at this point in time?
Well, the president has 2 end goals. One is to obviously keep the government funded and open, and that includes the Department of Homeland Security, which does not just touch upon ICE and Border Patrol, but also FEMA, the United States Coast Guard, the United States Secret Service. These are brave public servants who work to protect our homeland. The president wants these individuals to get paid. Secondly, when it comes to any discussions about immigration policy, the president is never going to waver in his commitment to allow immigration enforcement efforts in this country and to support ICE and Border Patrol and the deportation of illegal alien criminals. I know Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries sent over a very long list of demands, some of which the administration is willing to discuss. Others don't seem like they are grounded in any common sense, and they are non-starters for this administration. But we're not going to negotiate policy from the podium. I'm going to allow the president to do that, and any final decisions that are made will be made ultimately by him. But rest assured, he is never going to allow law enforcement in the jobs that they do, the important jobs that they do, to be undermined.
And secondly, Karoline, the Department of Homeland Security put out a tweet a better part of an hour ago alleging that an illegal alien was involved in a major car wreck in Indiana, killing 4 people, and they allege that the suspect in question came in under the CBP One app under the Biden administration and received a commercial driver's license from the state of Pennsylvania. What is the White House's reaction to a situation like this? And what is the White House doing to crack down on cases like this where illegal aliens are obtaining commercial driver's licenses?
Yes, this is another abhorrent example of the border crisis over the past 4 years, and it again exemplifies why the administration must continue and will always continue to fully back and support ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement in their removal of illegal alien criminals from our country. For those who don't know, and all of you should report on it, 4 Americans were tragically killed and lost their lives this week yet again from an illegal alien, an individual who was paroled into the country by the Biden administration using the CBP One app, which they created like it was a magic pass for Disneyland. That's not how immigration in this country should work. And this illegal alien from Kyrgyzstan was traveling on an Indiana highway, and he failed to brake for a slowed semi-truck in front of him. He swerved into the lane, and he crashed into a van carrying 15 passengers, and 4 people were killed in that crash. This is another tragedy that could have been prevented if not for the wide open borders from the previous administration. That's why we now have a secure border. That's why this administration will continue to deport illegal aliens from our country. Thank you for being here. Garrett.
John, thank you for your comments and your prayers for the Guthrie family. I have 2 questions related to the president's interview with NBC yesterday.
Sure.
At one point in the interview, the president said that he believes states are accumulating the votes for who wins the election. He says if they, meaning the states, can't do it honestly and can't be done properly and timely, then something else has to happen. What did he mean by that? Is he suggesting that the federal government count votes in elections?
What the president is suggesting, and I just spoke to him about this, is that Republicans and Democrats in Congress should pass the Save America Act. This piece of legislation is going to ensure that states are abiding by federal election law by removing non-citizens from their voter rolls. In addition, the Save America Act will require voter ID to vote, and it will require proof of citizenship to register to vote. These are very common sense policies and proposals that 89% of our country agree with. So that's what the president is talking about. Again, I just spoke with him about this, and he's calling on both Republicans and Democrats to send the Save America Act, to pass it into law and to send it to his desk as quickly as possible.
To be clear, the SAVE Act doesn't say anything about who counts votes, which has always been a state, a local, a county function. Why does he keep talking about somebody else, presumably the federal government, counting votes?
Because the SAVE Act directs states to remove non-citizens from their voter rolls. And we know in states across the country, the president is right to point this out. In states like California or in places like New York City, non-citizens are allowed to vote in state and local elections. And the federal government should absolutely do away with that. I don't think a single person in this room, if you really are being honest with yourselves, should agree that non-citizens should vote in American elections, no matter where that election is up and down the ticket. And so this is a piece of federal legislation that will help states ensure the integrity and the sanctity of their elections, and that's what the president wants. Peter.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump posted about Nancy Guthrie that he is directing all federal law enforcement to be at the family's and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. What should we expect to see from the federal government in coming days in the search to find Nancy Guthrie?
It's a very good question, Peter, and it's why I was on the phone with the FBI earlier this morning to ask that. And what they told me is that the FBI, again, is at the disposal of the state and local government. Whatever personnel or assets or resources that the state and local authorities and police need will be granted to them at the direction of the president, the FBI director, and the attorney general.
A different law enforcement issue. The FBI just found 1,000 samples inside an illegal biolab in Las Vegas. It is linked to a different biolab that was previously raided. There are ties to China. What does the president think the CCP might be up to here?
I haven't spoken to him about this specific investigation from the FBI, but I'm happy to, and I'm sure he's very glad that this is something the FBI discovered, and we'll make sure anyone who is involved in illegal activity will be held accountable.
And just one more about this weekend. At the Mar-a-Lago Super Bowl party, after the first two quarters, are the TVs going to be on the halftime show with Bad Bunny or the halftime show with Kid Rock?
I think the president would much prefer a Kid Rock performance over Bad Bunny, I must say that. Jennifer.
On the nuclear arms pact, we saw the president's post on that.
Yes.
But can you say, is there a temporary agreement with Russia to stand by the terms of the New START treaty while negotiations are happening?
Not to my knowledge. Again, to your point, Jennifer, I just do want to reiterate exactly what the president said. He wrote just moments ago, the United States is the most powerful country in the world. I completely rebuilt its military in my first term, including new and many refurbished nuclear weapons. I also added Space Force and now continue to rebuild our military at levels never seen before. We are even adding battleships, which are 100 times more powerful than the ones that roamed the seas during World War II. The Iowa, Missouri, Alabama, and others. I have stopped nuclear wars from breaking out across the world between Pakistan and India, Iran and Israel, and Russia and Ukraine, rather than extend New START, a badly negotiated deal by the United States, which I will add was renegotiated under former President Barack Obama, aside from everything else, is being grossly violated. The president wants to have our nuclear experts work on a new, improved, and modernized treaty that can last long into the future, and that's what the United States will continue to discuss with the Russians. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. Sure. Did President Trump himself ever ask DNI Gabbard to head down to Fulton County, Georgia?
The president was asked and answered that question just yesterday. I've seen a lot of the media in this room get very caught up with the semantics of why Tulsi Gabbard is there. I will tell you why, and the president agrees with this, because election security is essential to national security. And as the director of national intelligence, it is a part of Ms. Gabbard's role to make sure that American elections are free of foreign interference and that American elections are safe and secure. And so the ODNI director is working with the FBI on this effort, and the president wholeheartedly supports both Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard in ensuring that American elections are safe, are secure, and are free of foreign intervention.
Is there any indication that there's foreign influence?
Federal law enforcement's involvement in the search.
Well, excuse me one second. It's the media who has said that there's Russian interference in American elections. You guys have been saying that for many, many years. So the people
in Fulton County.
Well, the people in this room, considering that you all said for many years that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump, you should all be very happy that we finally have an administration that is looking into that, and we'll be happy to keep you posted. Michael.
With the FBI's involvement in the search for Nancy Guthrie now, has this search expanded nationwide outside of Arizona? And given Pima County's proximity to Mexico, is this now an international search?
Well, Michael, that would be a question for state and local authorities as they continue to oversee the investigation at this time. Again, the federal government and the FBI have offered any and all resources, but the state and local authorities are still leading the investigation, so I would direct you to them. I'm certainly not in a position to talk about it.
One other question, Karoline.
Sure.
Friday's talks with Iran, they were originally supposed to take place in Turkey. They've now been moved to Oman. Can you tell us the reason for that move?
Look, the president, diplomacy is always his first option when it comes to dealing with countries all around the world, whether it's our allies or our adversaries. And so Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be traveling to Oman for those talks tomorrow, and we will see what comes of those. The president is standing by for an update from them. Sure, in the pink.
Thank you, Caroline. Cuban leader Miguel Diaz-Canel said today that Cuba would be willing to engage in dialogue with the United States only without pressure, without preconditions, on equal footing and with respect for sovereignty. But his government is denying what President Trump said, that they are already holding talks. How would you respond to that?
I think the fact that the Cuban government is on its last leg and its country is about to collapse, they should be wise in their statements directed towards the President of the United States. But as I just reiterated, the President is always willing to engage in diplomacy, and I believe that's something that is taking place, in fact, with the Cuban government.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So the Office of Personnel Management released a final rule today that makes it easier to fire government employees who are not doing their job, basically. Does the President believe that there are people in his government still that are not following his agenda?
That's a good question. I have not asked him about that. I mean, look, it's a very big government, right? There are thousands of people who work for the federal government here in Washington, D.C. This administration has been very much focused on ensuring that we have an efficient and productive workforce for the American taxpayer. There's not a day that goes by where we don't show up and realize we are public servants working on behalf of the American people, and everybody in the federal government best have that mindset, or they won't be welcome to work for this administration. So I think it's a good thing that the Office of Personnel Management put this rule out. I think if people aren't doing their jobs, if they aren't showing up for work, if they're not working hard on behalf of this president, they're not welcome to work for him at all.
The New York City mayor is dealing with a $12 billion budget deficit. If he texted President Trump, would the president bail him out?
I'll leave that answer to the president himself, Ed. Kristen, go ahead.
One more follow-up on Dina Gabbard. You said that the president supports the fact that she was there, but last night when he was asked about it, he said he didn't know why she was there. He didn't say that he directed her. Can you clarify on that? Did she go by herself and he learned later and supports it?
Well, did you look at the full entirety of his response? I was in the room for that NBC interview, Kristen, and he just said exactly what I told you, which is that election security is essential to national security. We need to ensure that our elections are free and are fair and are free of foreign interference. And he spoke about how Ms. Tulsi Gabbard is involved in that effort. So you're taking like the first three words that he said to one question and not looking at his entire response.
Follow up on what you said about foreign interference. You talked about 2016 and Russian interference, but what we've learned from these Georgia officials is what was seized by the FBI were ballots from 2020 in this Fulton County election center. Do you have any evidence that there was international interference in the 2020 election in this election center?
What I do have evidence of, and what the media seems to be undermining, is why Tulsi Gabbard is there in the first place. And I would point you again to federal law that clearly assigns the DNI and the office with the statutory responsibility to lead counter intel matters related to election security. This includes assessing risks to election voting systems, software, voter registration databases, and more, and analyzing foreign interference. And the ODNI is responsible for supporting the White House interagency action to secure our elections through intel analysis and vulnerability assessments. And they should be routinely collaborating with agencies like the DHS, the DOJ, and the FBI. So as for that question, it would be better suited to ask the Director of National Intelligence herself in her office. But what I'm telling you is that it is more than appropriate. In fact, it is Tulsi Gabbard's job to ensure that our elections are safe and secure. And that's exactly what she's been doing on the ground in Georgia. And I don't understand why anyone in this room, considering you're all American citizens, I believe, and like to vote in our nation's elections, should have any problem with that whatsoever. Now,
thank you, Karoline. The president said that the administration should take a softer approach on immigration enforcement. He's also suggested for months that some migrant workers should be spared from these raids based on what they're doing. Is the administration going to continue to conduct large worksite raids as it seeks to target violent criminals? And can you clarify, is the federal government going to continue doing these deportation operations in blue cities where authorities say they don't want them?
Well, first, again, to the president's answer yesterday, the full context of his answer was that he'd like to see a softer touch, but we are always going to remain tough. That softer touch the president is referring to is that cooperation that is necessary between state and local authorities and federal government authorities to ensure that we can continue deporting illegal aliens from our communities without tons of agents having to go after one illegal alien. If the states and the local governments just turn over their illegal aliens to ICE at jails, as they should be doing, it requires one agent to deport that one illegal alien who can then go on their way to their home country in a peaceful manner. The escalation that we've seen take place in Minnesota is a direct result of the refusal of state and local officials to cooperate with the federal government and with ICE, which has led to these hostile and dangerous environments. And so we don't want that. Again, the president wants direct cooperation, and that's what he was referring to. As for worksite raids, I don't broadcast any future action that may or may not happen from the Department of Homeland Security. But again, the president's focus and the administration's focus is on targeting illegal alien criminals, especially those who have committed heinous crimes in our country, as evidenced by the few illegal aliens that I just shared with you here today.
Will ICE and Border Patrol avoid going to other blue cities where the local officials are saying, we won't work with you, we don't want you here?
Well, first of all, those local officials should be wanting to work with ICE. Why would any official, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, want murderers and predators in your city? It makes zero sense. It's an untenable position. The only reason Democrats are taking that position now is because their entire party platform is just anti-Trump. It makes no sense for the American people. They should be calling this White House, they should be calling Secretary Noem, they should be calling Tom Homan, and they should be saying, we want to work with you to remove the worst of the worst criminals from our city. Please come here. So yes, ICE is going to continue to do their job in cities and communities across the country, but it certainly makes it much easier when we have that level of cooperation and corroboration at the state and local level. In places like Florida, where there has been the arrest of thousands, tens of thousands of illegal alien criminals. None of you talk about that, or none of you hear about that, because these operations are going seamlessly and peacefully. Why? Because there is an intimate cooperation between the state government and the federal government, and that's what the president wants to see in all 50 states. In the whites, yes.
Hi, thank you, Karoline. Over the weekend, President Trump said that he was giving a serious look at endorsing in the Texas Republican Senate primary. We know that Minnesota and Georgia also have competitive, crowded primaries. Is he giving those races a serious look as well?
Well, I'm not allowed to speak from the podium on any future political endorsements the president may or may not make, but I know that he is watching all of these races across the country quite carefully. I won't get ahead of him on any potential endorsements. John.
Thanks a lot, Karoline. Two questions for you about the continuing resolution that the president signed for the Department of Homeland Security. What would be the repercussions for all of the agencies under DHS if no agreement is reached on funding when that deadline approaches next Friday?
Well, there will be grave repercussions for all of those agencies, but more importantly, frankly, for the American people who those agencies serve. And that's exactly what the president and the White House want to avoid. Again, we want to keep the government funded. We want the Department of Homeland Security, of course, to be up and operationalized and continuing as necessary to protect our homeland, to secure our border, to ensure the brave men and women of the United States Coast Guard are getting paid, the brave men and women of the United States Secret Service who protect the president, the vice president, and frankly, all of you in this building every day continue to receive the paychecks that they so well deserve. And so that's why the White House will engage in these talks with Democrats. But again, the president is never going to cave on this administration's core promise to deport illegal aliens from our country.
You said, Karoline, in your statement that there are certain proposals that Democrats are putting up that are non-starters. What are some of those non-starters?
There are a few, and it's a very good question, but I won't negotiate from the podium. I know the White House will be engaged in direct, serious talks with Democrats on this important matter. Natalie.
Thank you. In addition to launching Trump RX tonight, Trump has said that he wants to meet with insurance companies to lower healthcare costs. Do you have any update on when those meetings are
Yes, he does want to meet with insurance companies. That meeting will take place. I don't have an update on when it will be on the schedule, but the purpose of that meeting will be to continue to negotiate with these companies to ensure that more money is going back to the American consumer. And you're all going to see that on full display tonight at 7 o'clock with the formal launch of Trump RX. I'm telling you, this is going to be a very cool and unique event, so everybody really should tune in.
Can you clarify what the president said on the Diego Garcia deal? He said he didn't like it, now again he says he's for it.
He spoke with Prime Minister Starmer directly. He understands Prime Minister Starmer's position, and he supports it. But as the president reiterated in that statement, of course, the United States reserves the right to protect our assets. We still have a military base, of course, on the island of Diego Garcia. And so the president reiterated to the Prime Minister and to all of you that the United States will never waver, if necessary, in protecting our assets anywhere in the world, but including on Diego Garcia. And he supports the Prime Minister's decision. Elizabeth.
Just on that one, Karoline, can I ask you...
said that he's now seeking...
John, I'll go to you after.
Thank you.
The president said he's now seeking $1 billion from Harvard, considerably more than before. What changed here, and how are negotiations going?
Well, look, this has been an ongoing negotiation and, frankly, a frustrating negotiation for the president and the administration because we want a deal. And it's very unfortunate that Harvard has dragged its feet in understanding they need to rectify the wrongs and the illegal behavior that took place on their campus over the course of the past several years under the previous administration. And so the president wants a justified deal to correct for that criminal behavior that took place on their campus. He is now demanding $1 billion from Harvard University, and Secretary McMahon will be continuing to lead this negotiation and these talks. John.
Caroline, thank you. You mentioned some polling earlier that was very compelling on deportations. Rasmussen came out with a poll today, said 75% of Republicans want all illegals deported. It seems like the conversation has shifted again to focusing only on deporting illegal aliens who are criminals. Is the president still committed to deportations of the 20 million illegals that came here under Joe Biden, or are you starting to see that back?
Yes, and the president has always been committed to that, John. But we must prioritize, and the prioritization is on those tens of thousands of convicted criminals whom we know are still roaming our streets. ICE and Border Patrol and DHS have done a phenomenal job of removing tens of thousands of them. Actually, nearly 1 million people have been deported from our country over the past year, 2 million additional self-deportations. So nearly 3 million people have left the United States. But again, as you pointed out rightfully, Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed approximately 20 million people into our country illegally. So yes, of course, the president is committed to ensuring that America is and always will be a nation of laws.
Thank you, Caroline. Steve Bannon recently said, quote, "We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November." Is that something that the president is considering?
That's not something I've ever heard the president consider, no.
So you can guarantee to the American public that ICE will not be around polling locations or voting locations in November?
I can't guarantee that an ICE agent won't be around a polling location in November. I mean, that's frankly a very silly hypothetical question. But what I can tell you is I haven't heard the president discuss any formal plans to put ICE outside of polling locations. It's a disingenuous question.
Caroline,
Karoline, I had two questions regarding DHS. The first one is, one of the Democrats' main demands for DHS funding was to demask ICE agents. Is this something that the president is even considering?
Again, this is one of the specific points in the letter that went out by Senate Majority Leader Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. I won't negotiate the individual points from the podium, but it is obviously something the White House will be discussing with lawmakers on Capitol Hill in the coming days.
Is the administration concerned that the shakeup that we're seeing of DHS activity in Minneapolis could potentially embolden different obstructionist protesters around the country as they now have a playbook on how to get ICE out of their cities?
No, because what you saw yesterday with the drawdown of 700 agents only occurred because the condition that the President of the United States set for local states, local counties to turn over illegal aliens to ICE has been met. The vast majority of counties, nearly every single county now in Minnesota, has made an agreement to notify ICE when they are releasing an illegal criminal from their jail. This is a huge win for the administration. Again, it's a condition the president set out and has been met thanks to the tireless efforts of Mr. Homan. And as for the left-wing agitators who have been illegally obstructing ICE's immigration efforts, we are not letting that behavior go unnoticed or unpunished. In fact, just today, the Department of Homeland Security arrested this individual. He is a self-proclaimed Antifa member who has been threatening, doxing, harassing ICE. He called for the murder of federal law enforcement officers. He encouraged bloodshed in the streets of Minnesota. He proudly acclaimed affiliation with the domestic terrorist organization Antifa. And the Department of Justice, thanks to the great work of HSI and the FBI, was able to locate and arrest this individual today. So we are committed to enforcing our immigration laws. We want that level of cooperation from state and local officials. And if people are illegally obstructing our federal law enforcement operations, if they are targeting, doxing, harassing, and vilifying ICE agents, they are going to be held accountable, like this individual here, who again is a self-proclaimed member of Antifa. He is a domestic terrorist, and he will be held accountable in the United States.
Karoline, just to follow up on Garrett's earlier question, I mean, you've talked a lot about the SAVE Act. I know you spoke with the president about it before you came out here. The president has gone beyond that, though. He's talking about Republicans taking over elections, states are agents of the federal government. So just to be clear, is the president only calling on Congress to pass the SAVE Act, or does he want Republicans to go further than that before the midterm elections?
The president is calling on Republicans, again, and Democrats to pass the SAVE Act. I will reiterate, requirement for voter ID to vote. That should be something that no American should oppose. In fact, we know that the vast majority of Americans support it. Requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote, which is not hard to do. We should be able to do that in this country. If you want to register to vote in the United States of America, you have to be a citizen in the United States of America. And this piece of federal legislation will direct states to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. I just had a conversation with the president about it.
Thank you, Karoline. I have two questions. Tariffs on South Korea. As you know, President Trump recently mentioned increasing tariffs on South Korea. When will the 25% tariffs increasing on South Korea begin? Secondly, what impact will this have on national security?
Sure. I don't have a timeline for you on that, but I will make sure that our trade team here at the White House gets you an answer swiftly and promptly. John.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Yesterday, President Trump, in the NBC interview, said that it bothers me that somebody is going after Bill Clinton. That somebody is the House Oversight Chairman, James Comer, a Republican. Why is the president bothered that they're investigating Bill Clinton and his Epstein ties?
Look, I think that the president has respect for the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton. He said yesterday himself they've shared a good relationship, and that's what he was reiterating in that NBC interview.
Go ahead, Caroline. Can you tell us a little bit about the agenda for tomorrow's talks with the Iranians? What will be the focus of the discussions?
Diplomacy moving forward. The president has obviously been quite clear in his demands of the Iranian regime. Zero nuclear capability is something he's been very explicit about, and he wants to see if a deal can be struck. And while these negotiations are taking place, I would remind the Iranian regime that the president has many options at his disposal, aside from diplomacy, as the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military in the history of the world. Washington Examiner, go ahead.
Lynchburg County, Virginia is their local law enforcement is defying the blue government's demand that they no longer cooperate with ICE. There's a lot of red counties that are thumbing their nose at the blue government, blue states leadership, telling them not to cooperate with ICE. Will this administration support those counties in any way? Support them either through legal help or?
Absolutely. And if there is a county in this country, whether it's red or blue, that seeks to cooperate with the federal government to remove violent, illegal criminal aliens from their communities, this administration is here to help. You've heard the calls from the president himself on asking Democrats and Republicans across the country to call on the Trump administration to work with them, not against them, in the matter of public safety and securing our homeland. Thank you all very much. You'll hear directly from the president tonight at 7 o'clock, and I hope everybody has a good weekend. Happy Super Bowl weekend. The president has wisely chosen not to make a prediction in Sunday night's game, but as a native girl from New Hampshire, go Patriots. Thank you, guys.
Lots of topics hit this afternoon, from the superstar Karoline Leavitt at the White House press briefing there in the James S. Brady briefing room, with some breaking news also today that nuclear limits did expire between the United States and Russia. The latest treaty constraining the United States and Russia has hit that wall, so perhaps we might see that as well being discussed. On top of Georgia's 11th congressional district, Mr. Loudermilk is retiring from Congress, so he will serve out his term, and that creates a new vacant seat, as there has been an endorsement in the 14th congressional district where Marjorie Taylor Greene was serving, and we'll talk more about that in the prime time this evening. So be sure to tune in at 6:30 as Karoline Leavitt mentioned it will be a great event tonight on all of these IRS reforms and also Trump accounts, among other topics. So be sure to tune in for that announcement in the prime time tonight at 6:30 right here at Right Side Broadcasting. In the meantime, we are joined by Hannah Pyru, who's working on a number of great things. And Hannah, thank you for your patience there as we were listening to Karoline Leavitt give us some updates on what's happening in the federal city of Washington, D.C. But you out there west in Colorado, a beautiful place. I'm sure a lot of snow this time of year, working on Treehouse Storyteller and really fighting for family values, not only through your podcast, but through children's entertainment. Can you dive into it and tell us more about this Christian entertainment that seems to be enjoying a revival now in 2026?
Well, first off, thanks so much for having me and bringing me on today. Not to disappoint, but we are sunny and dry out here in Colorado in February. I may have been catching a little bit of vitamin D this morning, so but it's been really good. From the family side of things, oh my goodness, it has been an uphill battle. The culture that we live in, we see things left and right, don't we? Just hitting us all the time. And it has been just my joy, my passion, and really my pleasure to start equipping families and especially parents on how to navigate living in today's sideways culture, as I like to put it. So it's just been quite a journey and just been amazing, just finding all of those hot button topics and learning how we can talk through them and disciple one another, and just really learn from biblical principles and going back to our roots and standing firm in truth and firm in our faith as we walk this out with the next generation.
And you're a mother of three. You advocate for the homeschooling as well, which I think is just a wonderful option considering what is out there. But on the horizon of artificial intelligence, with all of those opportunities, we might have a harder time as parents, and I have yet to be one, but I see So many of my friends having kids. It's a joy of our life to have a bunch of little ones running around. But my goodness, with all these phones, their access, I mean, my nieces are probably more sophisticated on the phone than I am with it. And I worry about AI and the things that pop up on my phone that I don't want around. And what if that gets into a hand of a minor or a kid who could be very easily swayed by the world out there?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, to that point, I was just sitting down with my daughter who's 13, and I was showing her this cute little video of a baby donkey. We have donkeys ourselves. And so I was like, oh my word, this is so cute. And she goes, Mom, that's AI. I go, no, it's not. Don't ruin this for me. And she goes, no, Mom, that's AI. And it's crazy how my teens actually, it's like God's given them this special gift in the day and the age that He's called them to live. It's for such a time as this. They were born in AI world, and both of them can really decipher it better than my husband and I. And it's really scary that I didn't notice it until she called it out. And, it's something I would like to think as, an artist, as a photographer, then I can decipher those things, but I didn't. So it is very scary. And we as parents have to be so careful, so educated on matters of AI. What is artificial intelligence? I mean, we can recreate voices, we can recreate entire movies of ourselves with the right technology. And it really is a dangerous place to be, but it also can really give us a leg up if we know how to use it appropriately and we are responsible with it, just like any other piece of technology.
And how do you go about it with your kids specifically, or even in your community? Is it through the church? Is it through your storytelling, or even perhaps your artistry, being a photographer, to really tell the virtuous stories that are out there? I recently saw Angel Studios, their production of David. So it seems as if we're coming together as Christian artists in many different facets to protect not only our future, but those most precious in our communities and our children.
Yeah, I think really it's from the photography front, it's definitely under attack because, anyone can take a selfie and put it into an app and recreate themselves in 2 seconds with the right technology, but really, really teaching our kids, historical art, really going back to the roots of where we came from and really digging into a place of teaching them kind of, I look at the idea of counterfeit. And a counterfeit person someone that knows counterfeit and can identify counterfeit doesn't study counterfeit. They study the real deal. And so really what I always encourage parents and people around me in our community is you've got to study the real thing. And if you study the real thing long enough and know what makes something true and beautiful and right, then you'll notice what's a lie or what is counterfeit. And so I think really pushing into just really, really studying, for me, that's the word of God, and really studying the truth. Then we know when something, that discernment gifting can come at us, and we can discern from a lie and what is real.
Well, I was listening to the president's speech this morning as he keynoted the 74th National Prayer Breakfast. And I'm sure you have a prayer breakfast in your neck of the woods this time of year. And I'm in the Atlanta area, and also being from Chicago, it was wonderful to go into the room with some people that privately you might want to have a few differences with them, and maybe, but whether, especially in the political world, as that's where I came from. But it's a wonderful time to pause, whether it be in a city center or your own community or throughout our country, to reflect upon what truly does unite us. And what I've been thinking about recently is these stories, especially in the Old Testament, thousands of years ago, these great yet flawed leaders had to rely on God just as much as we do today, even without all of this technology. And with your treehouse storyteller, how do those stories really inspire the youngest among us to embrace what I would call the Solomon moments, or even the David moments? Because we know going up against Goliath can be scary, but all you need is a slingshot.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. One of the things that I always think about is 1 Peter 3:15, that we are always called to be ready to give an account for our faith. And I think those accounts start at the bottom level with our children, and we have to speak truth over them. We have to pray with them. We have to teach them and disciple them while we're raising them up. And I work with families every day, speaking to different mamas usually, but just different parents that are really trying to figure out how to navigate parenting in today's crazy world that we're living in. And one of the biggest things, like you said, is going back to those original stories and how much we see God's faithfulness to those who loved him. And we need to walk that same journey out in our day and age. And I always say, we've got to go back to Genesis. If we don't believe Genesis 1:1 first with the creation story, if we don't believe, God's ideal for marriage and the way that he invented and designed marriage, if we don't stand firm on gender ideology, the way that he placed a male and a female on this earth, then it's really hard to believe anything else. So we've got to start there first and just really lay that foundation, not only for ourselves but for our children as well, so we can raise up that next generation. And back to your point on prayer, it is so vital. That prayer piece is just really unlocking this magical tool. It can be our slingshot, and really praying through these circumstances that we can pray away the forces of evil that we see coming at us all the time, and really elevate together how we can lock arms, link arms together, and fight in truth together in our nation today.
And that was really a highlight this morning in Washington, D.C. No question that prayer is truly the peaceful weapon for the American people. Now, as you counsel families right now, Hannah, is there something you're finding that is really a struggle that's harming the American family, outside of the things you just mentioned, which are clear? Because I think the church gave up some ground over the last, let's say, half century or so post-World War II, and each generation has their struggles or their problems, but there was what I like to call a nice form of Christianity, in the sense that we allowed people just live and let live, kind of an idea of that. Yeah. Oh, I'll follow, but others, we won't really bother them with that. Now, on the other hand, of course, we want to be charitable, and the golden rule. At the same time, we're not necessarily called to be nice, but called to be followers of Christ and to defend these principles that have shaped Western civilization. So as you see it, what's harming the family the most, and what's actually a huge positive right now in 2026?
As you're saying that, I'm thinking that sometimes we as believers, the past few decades, have honestly been the very own threat to ourselves with kind of the seeker church movement, and that deeper discipleship, the deeper knowledge of our faith, the deeper understanding of biblical truth has just been so watered down with just, hey, let's just fill in these mega churches with the masses. Now, I'm not saying the mega churches are bad, but that mentality of, hey, let's just pour people in and not create a deeper level of understanding and a deeper union with the Lord, really, I think, has harmed us. Because how do we look any different than the world if we're just this surface level Christian and we know how to speak Christianese, but we don't know how to actually live out our faith and stand up in the public square for our own biblical values? So I think, honestly, one of the biggest things is we've harmed ourselves, we've shut ourselves down, and we've silenced ourselves. And in doing that, we've allowed everyone else to silence us as well.
But we're grateful for your voice and countless other Christians out there making the work happen, using their talent coming from God on high. And in 2 weeks, that Christian radio broadcasters event happening in Nashville, Tennessee, NRB putting it on, and we're highlighting many of the great people like yourself associated with that group. Will you be in attendance in the Music City?
Oh, absolutely. I will be there all week long. Excited. Lot to do, but excited.
Well, it looks like a wonderful conference. We won't be there in person, but I'm hoping to speak to you and some others on the ground there in the Music City as much as possible, because Troy Miller doing a wonderful job leading that group. And there's hope, because I think that iron sharpens iron, especially in these fields of the arts and radio and podcasting and this movement. I think we are much more united than divided within the American church, and it's wonderful work like what you're doing to make a huge difference. Hannah, where can everyone find you and follow your work, and also like, share, and subscribe?
Yes, that would be wonderful. You can find me at thetreehousestoryteller.com, and I've got links to connect to all the different platforms there.
As I say, be not afraid. In fact, the Bible mentions that 365 times. So once a day. It breaks up nicely as a good reminder. Hannah Pyru, thank you so much for joining us. Podcast host, photographer, also a great storyteller, Treehouse storyteller, making a difference for not only homeschool families, but families throughout the country. Thank you for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you.
And as we wrap up today's broadcast on a high note, always wonderful to speak to people like Hannah making a difference one step at a time. We continue to cover the latest from the Trump White House. Lots of news every day, and the only way we're able to do that is with great sponsors like All Family Pharmacy. We saw those storms and severe weather that really hit the southeastern United States, but went up the coast, and even Mayor Mamdani shoveling some snow. That was nice of him to do that, but with the weather disrupting travels and deliveries, especially with UPS Ground or any other parcel out there, Memphis, Tennessee got hit very hard with that. Americans are reminded how important it is to have prescriptions ready to go. With allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, code RSBN10 is your go-to for antibiotics, NAD+, ivermectin, methylene blue to hydrochloroquine, antivirals, and that Tamiflu, so important during this cold and flu season. Imagine already having a flu medication kit ready to go, or emergency medical kits lying around in case you get snowed or iced in, or even a few months of blood pressure medication in case you're running low. Instead of trying to refill prescriptions during those storm delays, be prepared with All Family Pharmacy as they make it possible. Now, patients can order medications ahead of time, and their prescriptions are not needed by insurance. Simply a pharmaceutical note, and a licensed doctor here in the United States reviews that, sends it back to you after reviewing that order. By writing the prescription, it's shipped directly to your home, so it's good for convenience as well. No waiting rooms, no insurance roadblocks, no red tape, no bureaucracy. Simply this online pharmacy that's leading pharmacies and protecting families all over the country. No last minute panic, but being prepared in 2026. Choose freedom, choose the right pharmacy. Choose allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 10% off now at RSBN 10. And thank you to you, the viewers here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Please feel free to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network at rsbnetwork.com/donate, or text RSBN to 801-801. There's also an address if you'd like to send a check or money order the old school way nowadays. Isn't it fun to think that just 20 or so years ago, you got mail, AOL, whatever messenger you did have, it was, oh my goodness, I got an email. And now it's the opposite. Oh my goodness, I got something in the mail. So some of us like to do the old school way. You could do that. Check and money order to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. It's the loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama, 36830 1550. Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. Auburn, Alabama, 36830. As we are grateful for you at 3:12 Eastern, 12:12 on the West Coast. Thank you for watching us and our stream today at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, we will be with you in the prime time tonight at 6:30 for a presidential announcement. So we'll see President Trump later on today, and we hope that you have a wonderful time in between to go grab some groceries, to go get some chores done, and then to come back right here in the evening on the right side of history. For all of my colleagues here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Robert McNeely. God bless you and yours, and we'll see you in a few hours.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.